Happy Halloween. And the scariest thought of all could be that baseball might be ending tonight. Let's go to Locked On MLB.
You are Locked On MLB. Your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. And thank you for making Locked On MLB your first listen, as we're available on all of your podcast catchers for free. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. As you can tell, right there it is. I'll figure out where it is. There it is on YouTube. Please, I'm begging you, call me Sully. Today's episode is indeed on Halloween. And wow, I did not expect to be wrapping up the World Series quite so quickly. Actually, I kind of did. I just didn't expect this to be the result. Now, we're available on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you have a smart device, be sure to tell it to play podcast Locked On MLB, or check out some of the other great shows in the Locked On Podcast Network, including Locked On Astros with H-Town Wheelhouse and Eric and Jake Mastriani on Locked On Braves. Follow us on Twitter at Locked On MLB Pod. Same handle for Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter. Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. So I guess I did think the World Series was going to be ending on Halloween. I just thought the opposite result was on the verge of happening. I thought the Astros were going to win the World Series in 5 games. The reason I thought they were going to win it in 5 games was not because I hate the Braves or I hate Georgia or whatever. Calling me an Astros fan would be, let's just face it, a little bit of a stretch, a little bit of a big-time stretch. But the fact of the matter is, I thought the Astros and the Braves were pretty evenly matched, except I felt that the Astros offense was too explosive. And there's going to be a lot of games, as I said in my World Series preview that I participated in, that what the Chicago White Sox found out and what the Boston Red Sox found out was there was a lot of games where when you were describing it at the end, you'd probably say, it was a lot closer than the final score would indicate. In other words, it'd be kind of close. And then at the end, the Astros offense was just so potent that they would put on the proverbial aft thrusters and blow everyone away. Well, let's start giving credit where credit is due to the Atlanta Braves, because it really looked like from the start the Astros was going to blow the roof off the dump. And when Lee, the starting pitcher, the nominal starting pitcher for the Braves, basically lasted, 3 batters, 4 batters? How many batters did he face? He faced 4 batters. There you go. Good start, Lee. And they brought in right away. Now, of course, it was going to be a bullpen game, but Lee allowed a hit and 2 walks in 1/3 of an inning. The bases loaded, and it just looked like, oh my God, here we go. The Astros is going to blow them out. But they only got the 1 run out of it. The Carlos Correa groundout scored a run. And then runners left on base. And then was it Altuve hit a home run? Okay, so they got another run. But then that was it. And it seemed like almost every inning, the Astros were getting something going. How many did they wind up leaving on base? They left 11 runners on base. 11 runners were left on base. That's, do the math. That's more than 1 an inning. Okay? Lots of ducks on that proverbial pond, and quack. And what happened, quack? I'll tell you exactly what happened. Something that didn't happen until the 7th inning. Didn't happen once during this entire World Series until the 7th inning of Game 4, and that was a lead change. There was no lead changes until the 4th inning. Only once did the Braves tie the game in Game 2, and then the Astros just blew the doors off it. Okay, but with the lead change, suddenly the momentum of everything swung the other way. I mean, we saw what happened is that after the Altuve home run, there was the Braves managed to finally get a run on the board with the Austin Riley single in the sixth inning. And then in the seventh, Dansby Swanson hit a deep home run to tie the game. And the next batter was Jorge Soler, who hit a go ahead home run. And Jorge Soler becomes first person to hit a home run to lead off a game in the World Series and hit a pinch hit home run in the World Series. And he wound up doing it in the same World Series. Dansby Swanson got the huge home run to tie the game. Rosario made the great running catch to preserve or to basically stymie a potential Astros rally. Think about those two gigantic pieces that the Braves had for this remarkable game, and they got them in exchange for Shelby Miller and Pablo Sandoval. Good trades when you can make them. And so now we see that this was a game where, again, another bullpen game, but unlike some of the other bullpen games, this one had a little bit of a personality to the pitching staff because you had Wright, who was taking this as his basically coming out party. You know, the 26-year-old Kyle Wright has not become the superstar pitcher that people thought he was going to be when he was a potential high draft pick, but he was terrific. Pitched 4 and 2/3 innings, so he gave him some length out of the bullpen. And so when they went to the parade of Matzik and Smith and Jackson, they weren't stretching them out. All right. And they allowed him to pitch through some jams. And yes, he managed to finish the fifth inning. And then they went to Martin, Matzik, Jackson, Smith, and therefore they probably can go to them for tonight's game. Now, for the Astros, they had to pull Greinke after 4 innings. Now, Greinke's gone through so many injuries and everything that I'm kind of glad he got as many as 4 innings. Zack Greinke is one of my favorite players in baseball. He's had an absolutely wonderful career. He's won the Cy Young Award, probably could have won another one, has been a huge game pitcher and a really talented one, and one to help in some ways remove some of the stigma of needing mental help, which is exactly what he did. And someday there'll be no stigma upon that. It'll take a while. People still consider it soft, or you got to toughen yourself up, and all that nonsense and all that BS. And maybe when we look back, Zack Greinke would be one of the people who helped turn that tide. But he also has been a very honest person in his interviews. I love his bluntness. And he's also a really fun pitcher to watch. And I'm glad that if this is it, and it could very well be it for Zack Greinke. I mean, he's no spring chicken, and he's gone through a ton of injuries. I believe his contract is wrapping up soon. And you know, when you're a pitcher of his age, and Greinke is 37 years old, had an okay season this year, not a great season, an okay season, and he is, but he's suffered through his injuries, and the man's not getting any younger, and at one point, he's going to probably, he's going to be a free agent after this year, and there's some talk that he may retire. If he wants to sign with another team, he probably can, but his 171 innings he's pitched this year. Well, he pitched a solid year in 29, so he's been pretty durable over his career. But when you start having your injuries in your late 30s, it's tough to turn them around. He's had an 18-year career, won the Cy Young Award in 2009, was the runner-up of the Cy Young Award in 2015, and helped pitch the Diamondbacks to the postseason in 2017. He's wound up playing in the postseason with several different teams, World Series a couple times with the Astros. And is he a Hall of Famer? Potentially. Be an interesting conversation to have. Was today's final appearance, his final pitching game in the major leagues? Again, it's possible. And if it is, I'm glad he pitched a good game. And if it is, I'm also glad he got a base hit. Take that, universal DH people. Heck, he batted eighth. He batted eighth because Maldonado was a better candidate to be the ninth spot. But, he pitched 4 innings, got the shutout for the 4 innings, and it really looked like it was going to be kind of like the last bunch of games that one team got a lead, held on to it, and part of me was okay with it. When you go through a game and you're trying to think what you're going to do with the podcast, you have a narrative going in your head. It's like, look, this is an okay game, but I'm fine with it because it's ensuring a game on Tuesday. But alas, we don't have that. And a big part of that is, Rayleigh let up the run, and then Javier, who's been so great as a postseason pitcher for the Astros, they went to the well with him, and he allowed the back-to-back home runs. Good for Presley for pitching an inning and 2/3 and striking out 4 and keeping him at bay. But alas, here we are. And the Atlanta Braves are on the verge of winning a World Series title and doing it on Halloween. Boo. Hey, does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game, another one that lets you stream your favorite shows. You're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you got your neighbor's best friends log in for the good stuff. Well, I want to tell you about a simple way to get all the entertainment you love without the hassle. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes, no more need to buy another device ever, and the best part is there is no annual contract. Easy for you to say. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion. Get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package. Now look it. I'm saying this because not for any reasons, not politics, not geography, nothing like that. I want the Braves to lose tomorrow. I do. I'm not suddenly an Astros fan. I'm not ready to say goodbye to baseball. I'm not. It's my companion. It's the thing that I wake up and I'm super into. And again, I have my job, I have my life, I have things going on in my life and everything like that. So in the one sense, looking up scores and trying to keep my daily baseball podcast up to date is probably going to be good for my sleep cycle. But you know what? What's 2 more days? What's 2 more days for a World Series game to make it truly memorable? Make the whole series truly memorable. Because I don't feel like this World Series has had its moment yet, has had its signature moment. That was one of the reasons why I wanted them to complete the multi-pitcher no-hitter the other day, because that would be the thing that people remember about this series. I don't know what the thing is that people will remember this series. We've had a couple of good games. The last 2 games, both games of Atlanta, have been good games. And there's been some thrills in the game. But none of them have been that great clash, that great sort of, wow, I'm so amazed we're watching this. Was it the Phillips game where Rosarena was stumbling and bumbling and flopping on home plate, and that come from behind rally in last year's World Series? That to me justified the whole World Series. You had Game 7 the year before. I did that the other day. I was capping some of the great moments in each of the World Series. We haven't had that with this one. If you're an Atlanta Braves fan, you're loving every minute of it. But for someone who's just enjoying it as a lover of baseball, that's what I'm looking for tomorrow. And if it has to be a 5-game series, and there have been great 5-game series, if it has to be a 5-game series, give us a great finale. The Mets versus the Royals in 2015 was a 5-game series. They had a wild, very weird extra inning game 1, and then you had the Royals come from behind rallies and the extra inning finale. Didn't make that a great series, but had those great moments in that. One of the great World Series that had tons of huge moments like that was the 1988 the 1988 World Series between Los Angeles and Oakland, which had the Kirk Gibson home run, two complete game victories by Oral Hershiser, where one of them he threw a complete game three-hitter and got three hits himself. You had a walk-off home run by Mark McGwire. It became the first postseason series in history where there were two walk-off home runs in the same series. And Game 4 was a very weird back and forth game. They had Hershiser dominate. I mean, that was a fun 5-game series, even though it was only 5 games. We've had a couple of okay games, but we need that one. Did you see that? Even if the Braves win, you need that. In fact, I'm going to say this. I want one of two things. One of two things. Three. I'll give you three. One, the Astros win, and the series moves on to another day. So we have another full day of baseball. That's my primary wish. Wish number two, if we can't have that, have it be an extra inning game with a wild walk-off scenario. I mean, if it can't be, if we have to have a Braves victory, I don't want it to be 3-1, 4-1. Will Smith on the mound gets the final out, blah blah blah. No, I know. I want to have a completely strange bananas game with a wild, weird finale if the Braves have to win it. Maybe an error. Maybe one of the people that people like to boo, like Altuve and Correa, make an error. So those people who are so obsessed with belittling the Astros at this point can have that. Something. That's what I just need something. Third option. No hitter. If the Braves have to win, they clinch the World Series with a no hitter. Now, I have no idea who's going to start. So it'll probably be a group no hitter. Fine. I need that. That's what this World Series needs. It needs a signature moment. Absolutely it does. And I'm telling you, it's so weird that this Braves team, of course, they haven't won it yet. We cannot stress that enough. They have not won it yet. And to try to think back of the last time a Braves team blew a 3-game-to-1 lead, all you have to do is go back 12 months when they lost to LA in the LCS last year. So, yeah, it's possible and it can happen. So just let's not create a parade yet. But they're in real good shape right now. All they have to go is 1-2 and they win a World Series. And I think about so many of the Braves teams that when the Braves were just in the playoffs year in and year out in the 1990s going to the 2000s, how many great 100-plus win teams didn't win the World Series or make it to the World Series? The 1998 Braves had the biggest win total in franchise history. The 98 Braves won 106 ball games. 106. And that was when Andrew Jones was at his peak. Andres Galarraga was on the team and blasting home runs left and right. And you had, Chipper Jones was becoming a Hall of Famer. You still had Maddox, who, whether you like wins or not, team wins, and a 2.22 ERA and 251 innings pitch. Glavine was the 20-game winner, had a higher ERA, didn't pitch as many innings, but he had more wins, so therefore Glavine won the Cy Young Award over Maddox. Smoltz was still tremendous. Denny Nagel was still really good. Kevin Millwood, when the team had again, I don't like to harp on wins. When you have a 17-game winner as your number 5 starter and someone who threw 174 innings and, had a terrific strikeout to walk ratio, it's unbelievable that was the team of that run that had the highest win total. The best overall team was the 103 win team the 104 win team, from 1993. That to me was the Braves team. That was the first year that Maddox was there. Ron Gant was still a terrific player on that team. Justice was still a superstar on that team. It was the arrival of Fred McGriff, which was one of the great trades they ever had. Otis Nixon was still stealing bases at a great rate. They still had Deion Sanders. They still had, like, there was still a lot of the players from the first Braves team, like Sid Bream, like Francisco Cabrera was still there. But you also had the emergence of, the arrival of Maddox, the arrival of McGriff. But once again, the main problem they had was their bullpen, as Stanton and McMichael were not the great relievers. I guess the point I'm making is there were so many Braves teams that won over 100 ball games during that stretch. The 98 Braves, the 93 Braves, the 99 Braves who went to the World Series won 103 games. The 2003 Braves won 101 games. The 2002 Braves, who lost to San Francisco in the playoffs, won 102 games. The Braves of 97, who lost to the Marlins in the ALCS, won over 100 games. All these great teams, and none of those teams, only one of those teams went to the World Series, the 99 squad, and they got thumped by the Yankees. And now you have this squad potentially winning it all. We'll see. We'll see how that works out. But man, it's unbelievable that this squad, without Acuna Jr., without their entire starting outfield, makeshift put together, went on the great run. That's the lesson, folks. If you think you have a realistic shot at the trade deadline, go for it. Because in the end, the legacy of these teams are built entirely in October. I just rattled off all those teams: 98, 2002, 2003. I bet you forgot those were 100-win teams, as they were unceremoniously dumped in the division series and completely forgotten that postseason. Oh, yeah, the Braves won that year. Were they any good? Yeah, they won 103 ball games. Maybe I shouldn't be harping on the win total. I already got in trouble with one of my listeners about that. The win total is how we judge about where you get into the postseason and everything. But now we're going to see. Let's talk a little bit about Built Bar. Did you know that Built Bar has so many delicious flavors? There's something for everyone. When you talk to a Built Bar fan, they're passionate about their favorites. If you don't know what the flavors are, there's coconut, cherry barcia, mint brownie, double chocolate, salted caramel, strawberry, orange, cookies and cream, German chocolate, and my favorite, which is raspberry. If you haven't tried all the flavors, you can get a mix box where you get 2 of each of those 9 flavors. Not only are Built Bars the best tasting, they're healthy too. 17 to 18 grams of protein, calories range from 130 to 180, 4 or 5 grams of sugar, 4 or 5 grams net carbs. Order today, get the grasshopper cookie or raspberry or whatever you want. Built Bar is the official protein bar of the U.S. track and field team, which I think is pretty neat. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCK15, you get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off at Built.com. All right, we got one last bit of sort of things to go over. It's Halloween, so you didn't used to have ball games going on this late. I mean, you had the World Series in 2001, but that was stretched because of September 11th. And this was the game on Halloween 2001 where Tino Martinez hit the game-tying home run. The Diamondbacks were on the verge of being up 3-1 in that World Series. And quite frankly, the Yankees just looked completely overmatched. And Tino Martinez hit the home run to tie the game, and Derek Jeter hit the home run to win the game. And what you may not remember, because there's all the memories of that 2001 World Series, was basically how Schilling and Randy Johnson just dominated the games. And of course, Schilling started games 1 and 7. Randy Johnson started games 2 and 6. Diamondbacks won those games. They won the series. The Yankees won the middle games in 3 dramatic ball games, 2 of them mind-bogglingly dramatic. But remember, Schilling started game 4. Brenly pushed the chips to the center of the table and didn't start. I think it was Miguel Batista, who it was, but whoever was going to be going on as number 4 start said, no, we're going to roll the dice and throw Schilling. And Schilling was great. And Byung-Hyun Kim blew the game. And for those of us who were rooting against the Yankees, and that we did exist, and I was in New York at the time, so it was kind of strange that way. There was that sense of, oh no, what did you do? Why didn't you pitch him on full rest? Now you blew your Schilling start. Well, in the end, it didn't turn out to be that bad, but man, when Jeter hit that home run, it was electric in New York. I just was such a crazed Red Sox fan living in New York City and hated the Yankees. And just seeing them winning all the time. They beat the A's in the Jeter flip game. They beat the 116 win Mariners. They won a game that Schilling started and now had tied that thing. Who can stop them? And I know all the narratives and everything, but for me, hating that team, it was so annoying. Just was annoying more than anything else. But alas, Yankees lost, and the Game 7 finale was incredible. That was a series. Was what, 3 games? There were 3 absolute classic games. All I want is one. All I want is one. In 2010, my dad, may rest in peace, the rabid San Francisco Giant fan, was visiting me and my family here in Los Angeles County, and the Giants were up 2 games to 1 in the World Series against the Texas Rangers. I was taking my kids out to trick or treating. Me and my wife were taking the kids out for trick or treating, and my dad stayed at the house to give out candy and watch Game 4 of the 2010 World Series. And the unsung hero of Halloween 2010 was Andres Torres. Andres Torres is one of those players that a fan base loves disproportionately to their stats. If you look at him, he's a journeyman minor leaguer with a couple of cups of coffee in the big leagues before getting a starting job with the Giants when he was over 30. And he had one good full season and followed up with 3 nondescript seasons before seeing his career end in the minors. And if you bring his name up to Giant fans of a certain age, their eyes will light up. He's still a fan favorite, and he has cemented his legacy in San Francisco, Andres Torres, for what he did on Halloween 2010. And the Giants were in the World Series, somehow beat the Phillies, and Lincecum and Matt Cain and their insanely deep bullpen won the first 2 games. And then Game 3, the Giants lost to the Texas Rangers. And the 4th game was a showdown between 2 young, unproven pitchers. Tommy Hunter, 23 years old, great winning percentage. And the Giants rolled the dice with a 21-year-old rookie named Madison Bumgarner. And it looked like the Rangers may have the better pitching matchup there. Believe it or not, back then we didn't know Madison Bumgarner was going to become an all-time postseason performer. And the Rangers hoped that with a win, they could hand the ball to Cliff Lee in Game 5 and maybe get a 3-game-to-2 lead back to San Francisco. Okay, now the leadoff man for the Giants was Andres Torres. And he had never caught on with the Tigers when he was in the Tiger system. You know, he only played a handful of games with them, bounced around between the Twins, the Cubs, the Tigers again. He landed with the Giants in 2009, and he stayed with the big league club for most of the season. And he wound up starting 124 games in 2010 because there was a bunch of injuries, especially to Aaron Rowan. And Torres won the Willie Mack Award. For those of you who are Giant fans, you know they give those out to the ones who do the most charity work and kind of the fan favorite and everything like that. And there was a lot of fan favorites on that roster. So when he won the Willie Mack Award, you know, that was pretty special for him. So all that leadership, all that stuff, that's nice and fine. But what he did with his bat is what made the difference. In Game 4, he led off with a single, stole second. He didn't score, but he set the stage. In the 3rd, he led off with a double and would score on Aubrey Huff's home run. Meanwhile, this kid Bumgarner apparently was pretty good in the World Series. In the 7th inning, the score was 2-0 Giants, and everyone knew that the Rangers had a terrific offense and could make up 2 runs in no time. With 2 outs in the top of the seventh, Edgar Renteria was on first. Torres stepped up to the plate, and he lined a double to center field on the second pitch. Renteria came all the way around to score. The Giants had a 3-0 lead, and Bumgarner and Brian Wilson would make it stand. The final was 4-0. And his line, Torres' line in that, was 3 for 5, 2 doubles, a run scored, another knocked in. The Giants were up 3-1, and they clinched the next day thanks to a spectacular performance by Tim Lincecum and a 3-run home run by Edgar Renteria. Now, people remember the Lincecum heroics, and they remember the Renteria home run. But without Andres Torres' tremendous performance in Game 4, that series might be tied. And it's a completely different series. Giants, Rangers 2-2, Giants up 3-1 on the Rangers. And that's why Andres Torres is our unsung hero of Halloween from 2010. So, there you go. Once again, thanks so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen. And if you're going to continue to listen beyond me, then you should check out Locked On MLB Prospects with Aaron Lighton. And he just digs deep in the MLB stars of tomorrow. And it's a tremendous show. And remember that this episode was brought to you in part by Built Bar. Built Bars are the best tasting protein bars ever. And go grab yourself a Built Bar. Use promo code LOCKED15 at built.com. I don't have to copy it from me. I was doing that from memory. Hey, I just want the season to keep going. This has been Locked On MLB for the 31st day of October. It's Halloween 2021. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.